All right, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. So today we are meeting again for the next webinar. For this month's theme is resilient. So today we specially brought our handsome young gentleman, Mr. Fong Yit Meng. So he is the co-founder and chief executive officer of Airbel Technologies Sdn, as well as one of the well-known trainer from the HRDF. So please welcome Mr. Fong, and thank you for your commitment and time to be with us today. So, as you know that today we are going to talk about one of the interesting topic about business resilience, and what we can see nowadays. We have seen a lot of businesses, they are either shut down, collapse, or they are not able to survive due to this still ongoing world pandemic COVID-19. Okay, so we, especially Malaysia, after the first starting of COVID in 2020 until now, it is becoming worse and uncertain. And then we can see that a lot of businesses struggle so much to stay resilient, to sustain, as well as to stay viable in the market. So, in your opinion, Mr. Fong, how do you see that COVID pandemic, COVID-19 can impact businesses? Please, Mr. Fong.
Thank you, Nita. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having me here. And this is a lovely Saturday. I'm really honored to be able to share my experiences and my views with you and your audiences. Okay, a little bit background about myself. My name is Fong Yit Meng. So I run IT business. I provide consultancy for businesses. I help them grow their business using technologies and digital. And because of that, I am also involved in digital marketing. I
Mm,
train companies, I train their salesperson, I train their marketing, and I try to help business to map their performance, and also most importantly to identify the next growth area so that the company can move to the next level.
yeah.
You are very right with this COVID pandemic. As we all know, we live in the VUCA world now, volatile, uncertain, ambiguous world. Uh, COVID is a major event that happens, and we initially we thought that it will last for like 1 or 2 months. Okay, seeing how China did it within three
Yeah,
months, and we thought it is a temporary thing, but it
yeah.
seems like, according to the newest prediction, it's going to last until the at least the end of this year, and recovery will only come somewhere in mid of 2022,
I
which take
see.
us approximately 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a lot of businesses are having a lot of problems, we call it.
Mm,
But look at it this way: COVID is the litmus test for all business. Okay, it is a reflection of what our business are, how we manage our business. Let's put it this way. In business, we face a lot of challenges. We face a lot of difficulties, just like another crisis that businesses
mm-hmm.
has to go through. And this is how we evolve our business to make us relevant. Okay, because we are able to see what's inside our business and how we react to our customer. That's why we can evolve to stay relevant. So for test for our business model, what are the values that your products and services to your customers? COVID highlighted that some services are essential and some are not essential. So depending on which side you're on, you can clearly see that classification, products and services. Can you do
Mm,
delivery, and can you deliver your services online? Okay, we have seen
yes.
a lot of very good examples. A fishmonger selling fish at Pasar. Instead of customer walking in, they have delivery services. they send through WhatsApp messages. Because the can contact me, I'll deliver the fish to you. And they even push it one more step further. They have their own Facebook Live selling fish. Oh, ini ikan kembung. Oh, ini ikan pari 1 kilo
Yeah.
berapa. Okay, it makes things surprising enough. They manage to sell beyond their vicinity, beyond area that they used to serve. So it's a very good liberal. Second, we look at it from the business operations of view with MCO and restrictions that are in the first MCO, the government says there are businesses that cannot operate at all, and
Mm.
so it helps you to think, have you mapped your business processes? And if yes, to which level? We need to deep dive into our business. We need to know, for example, what process, what task can be done online, what task can be done remotely, and what are the tasks that we can automate and we can just abolish it. How easy is it for us? Is the few question that you need to answer in order for you to understand. The third test that COVID showed us is our business capabilities. Okay. For example, what is the ability that we have? Are we just a trading company? Are we a manufacturer that do not produce high-tech products? Or our business model is just too uh, outdated or irrelevant to the new demand? So every business needs to have the ability to spot new market. And then the company or the business needs to have resources to pivot to adjacent business. Lastly, a business needs to be able to have the speed required to scale up or the business. I'll give you a true story. Um, this is a true story of an equipment manufacturer supplier in Malaysia. In March 2020, during the first MCO, they identified that the selling price of a facial mask skyrocketed from RM20 box, okay, pre-COVID level, to 150 ringgit per box during a peak uh, COVID level. So their ability to spot new market, okay, this is a market that we can get into. We have the resources, we have the resources, we have delivered. However, the shipment took nearly 2 months to reach Malaysia. By the time it reaches Malaysia, the selling price dropped to RM60 a box because of government's control, and he suffers loss because his cost is about 65 ringgit per box. Okay, so from
Mm.
here we can see that his lack of logistic resources delayed him from going into market. So we need to rethink about our business, the speed to scale up and the speed to scale down. And do we have the sufficient resources? So to help us further understand about resilient, normally we will look into four key areas. the financial resilience, the operational resilience, the commercial, and the community resilience. A lot of you can just Google and learn it from the internet. But what I want to share with you today is how we look at it from a business perspective, not the academics perspective. First of all, financial resilience. How I look at it is the cash reserve and the cash flow. Cash reserve includes your liquid cash, such as your fixed deposits, your stocks, your bonds, and also the piles of cash you keep under your pillow.
Yeah.
And hard asset means the real estates, the vehicles, or the raw materials or goods that you have. Because you have to understand that when you pay for raw materials, you can resell the raw materials if you want to. Okay, the inventory on hand is actually your cash. So that's why in some businesses, it is very important for us to minimize our raw material and also minimize our inventories, our goods, because those are cash locked in the form of goods. So these are your reserves. The next thing that we want to look at is the cash flow. Most important is your income stream, right? Uh, what is your business income? How much are you earning? Are they stable? Do you have any rental incomes? Do you get any interest or dividends, etc.? So we have to break it down to a detail, different stream, different detail, and then we can put a weight on it. We can weight it based on their frequency, how frequent we can get it, how confident we are going to get this income, and the reliability of it and the quantum of it. Then we move to the other part of our cash flow, which is the expenses, salary, a huge chunk in a lot of business, rental, loan, the installments that we pay, the amount owing to vendors, how much are we owing our vendors, and most importantly, the statutory payments such as tax and KWSP. You have to understand that tax account for almost 20% of the net profit. So if we do not look into plan our tax properly, a lot of business get stuck because of this. So what we can do to manage our financial resilience? First, you must have a balanced reserve portfolio where you maximize the return of your reserve. And at the same time, you have a portion of the reserve that are liquid enough to be ready to pump into the business when needed. We just it's like pump and then we want it to be in the business. And this is even true when we see a lot of retailers in Malaysia. When the government announced the first MCO, yeah, we are still quite uh, complacent, quite relaxed because we have moratorium that help us to ease the cash flow. Okay, the loan portion, the expenses is reduced. We do not need to pay for installments. Rentals, a lot of businesses get free 3 months rental from their landlord. A very good initiative by the owners, the property owners. However, when things starts to drag, it drags to the 6 month. No property owners gonna give you free rental for 6 months or up to like nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is where you need to have instant access to your cash reserve. So while a lot of businesses emphasize on maximizing profit, in today's world, it is about agility, it is about resilience. And when we talk about resilience, we must let go of a portion of the profits or the return. Therefore, a balanced portfolio is proven to be more important than a portfolio that maximizes return. Portfolio means how you manage your money. Do you want to put it in fixed deposit or you invest in stocks or invest in real estates? So this is how we manage it. Second if you can't see it, you can't manage it. We need to be able to visualize our cash flow in real time. Why do we want to do that? Because the world is moving so fast now. Okay, near future does not mean 3 years or 5 years down the road. Near future means 3 or 5 months down the road. So we need to be able to look into what's happening now. It's like if I know that I have a heart heart problem. Do I want to monitor my cholesterol level every day, or I want to monitor it every year or every 3 years? If I know I have blood, I have diabetes, do you think I want to monitor my sugar level every day or every 3 years? Same goes to business. Cash flow is the livelihood of the entire company. No cash flow means no business. It cannot run. So we need to be able to monitor it in real time. So this requires help from technology. We need to consolidate financial data from purchases, sales, and our current balances. Okay, and we need to be able to look at it from multiple perspective. The past where we have the trend, the current where the transactions are coming in and out, and also the future where how much we need to pay in the next 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. Okay, and this is a major problem for a lot of companies, especially the SMEs who likes to roll their money. Roll means that they know they need to pay the money. For example, money to income tax, but they spend the money on elsewhere, hopefully that they are able to get it back on time to pay for it. So this kind of hedging, it's very very dangerous. Okay, if we do not have sufficient reserve, that's why we need to be able to visualize it. uh, while saying that technology helps, it doesn't mean that we need sophisticated or heavily invest on technologies or softwares. Microsoft Excel can do a great job. Okay. However, business needs to elevate the Excel skills to the next level for you to be able to generate this kind of near real time analysis. In my career, I train a lot of people on how to use Excel to create real-time charts. Why? Because if your Excel is a linear, simple calculation, it does not represent the real world. It does not give you a real image of what's happening. And this is also why a lot of management do not see technology as a tool, because the the people who are using the tool or building the tools are not well trained. Okay, uh, properly trained or a well trained Microsoft Excel user or any kind of spreadsheet users can do a lot of simulations model using just some simple spreadsheets. So this goes to the third point that I want to highlight today, referring to financial resilience. Businesses needs to give attention to financial simulation. Train your CFO, your chief financial officers, train your financial controllers, train them so that they know how to simulate the techniques for simulation, financial simulation. Financial projection alone is not enough. We need to simulate different conditions. Projection is linear, it's like we project what's going to happen. But what if we change a lot of variables? So that's where simulation helps us to ideate what is going to happen so that we can identify where are the critical path or critical points. So run simulation with your CFO or your financial controller. Challenge them, make them think harder so that they can identify the gaps and also the risk in the company. So I'm referring to a really realistic simulation that takes in multiple factors as much aspect as possible so that you can have a real feeling of what's going to happen. Simple linear simulation or the projection using those basic extrapolation is not going to do the job. Okay, so now I'll move to operational resilience. Operational resilience and commercial resilience, we can generalize it into three basic components: the people management or the culture. Okay, remember that the real engine in business is the people running it. Those who do the daily physical works are the real one running the company. It is more true when it comes to time of crisis. The hard-working daredevils of GrabFood delivery, fulfilling every orders during MCO, they are the true engine for Grab's business. While if we are driving, we can see this food delivery or delivery motorbikes like swooping here and there, shoot, 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 right? So these are the real people that makes the company works and running. So in times of crisis, okay, a lot of business wants to think about the financial aspect. Should we reduce their salary, have a pay cut? Should we have offer VSS, etc.? So in order for you to have your business to have resilience, you must take good care of the people because they are the one doing it. Okay, the toilet will never get cleaned by itself. It needs a janitor to do the job. So people management is very important. Okay, so if you want to build operational resilience, start by treating your frontliners well with good pay and also benefits. And respect is definitely going to be there. Okay, and the second point when it comes to resilience is the robustness. Robustness refers to how robust or how capable your operation is. So imagine, I want you to take some time to imagine how do you fulfill an order when one of the part is missing? For example, how do you deliver a happy meal when toys are not available in the outlet? Okay, we can ignore the cause. We can ignore the cause of this problem. We don't care whether it's because of the supply chain or we don't care whether it is for whatever reason. Okay, how do you fulfill this order? We can't tell our clients that hey, I don't have a toy, so you can't have a happy meal, right? So have this kind of game plan. Okay, have this kind of simulation with your team. Okay, and your SOP. Make it a standard procedure so that you can train your managers or your outlet managers or your supervisors. Let's give them an apple pie or whatever, right? Okay, that is one way to deal with it. And if we don't have it now and we can expect it to be available really soon, and why don't we send it over to them later? All this can be arranged, and it always depends on the management. How well do you design the simulation? Okay, when it comes to resilience. The third thing that come into place is redundancy. Okay, a lot of businesses tend to focus heavily on the main production, like assuming that the world is a perfect world where nothing bad will happen. And this is not true, you see. Uh, we always need redundancy. For example, what if one of your staff is sick and she's unable to host or chair a meeting? Who is there to replace her? Can you get a replacement? For business owner or decision making uh, levels, okay, top management, can anyone approve the transaction without let's say, the director's approval. Especially true in this case, there are a lot of businesses that face tremendous challenges simply because their boss gets contracted with COVID and some sent into quarantine, some are in the camp. Okay, how do how will your business run? And all this requires game plan and simulation. Okay, the simplest way to do it is by having succession planning and having redundancy to your roles and position. So it give your HR a new job that is to match the talents and the skill sets. Okay, so that we know that okay, if someone is not there, we have someone else to take care of it. And if, for example, nobody has skill, then we will start to ask the question: how long do you need to train them? Put this into your SOP, put this into your policy, make it a policy and execute it. Okay, and this is never been truer. Okay, COVID already showed us this, and for businesses that looks at the longer run, this is something that we really need to look into it. And let's move to another aspect of resilience, the community resilience, or for me, is simply the stakeholders' view. It is all about how do you manage your relationship with people around you. So there's only two components: relationship and people around you. Okay, these people can be your shareholder, they can be your employee, they can be your customer, vendors, or just any people around your vicinity. Okay, the environment, okay, the air, the land, the water. You have to include all other living beings like the cats and dogs or tigers and elephants. So how do you manage relationship with each and every one of them? Okay, I want to share this story with you. When COVID hits Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he gets the local factories in Canada to produce ventilators because they know that when COVID hits, the demand or the requirement of ventilators will increase. And that time, if you remember the global lockdown in March 2020, basically getting ventilators or buying ventilators from other country is near impossible. Okay, China were under lockdown. US, we have Donald Trump. Okay, and the world just stopped functioning. So what he did was he get his team of people to reshape the factories because you see a lot of factories in Canada get affected as well. They have nothing to produce because the world are not buying from Canada as well, right? So what the government did was, okay, whatever you are doing, okay, move them aside. We bring in the talent to help you to make the machineries so that you can make the ventilators and we supply it back to the government. So it is a very good strategy where the business don't get hurt because they still get they still have productions, they still have businesses running. Instead of producing, for example, maple syrup, they will produce ventilators, and it solved the crisis. So if we move the level to a business level instead of a country's level, it is important for us to focus on building relationship with the people around us. Okay, for example, if I'm a factory, it is always good to maintain a very good relationship with my neighbor, right? Okay, it can be people around us, the shops or the outlets nearby, or even makcik kias pisang goreng stall. Okay, manage the relationship, and in times of crisis, you will find that these people are probably the last people on earth. that can help you. Okay. Uh, to further answer the question of resilience, I need to emphasize the importance of risk management. AirAsia lost 391 million in quarter four from October to December of 2020 due to fuel hedging. So fuel is one of the largest expenses for airlines. So it is really natural to hedge on the fuel price, which means that we agree to buy the fuel at certain price in the future. Okay, imagine if you run a restaurant and you use kangkong a lot. Kangkong costs 10 ringgit per kilogram, so you will. It is natural for you to just go to your vegetable supplier and you talk to them. You tell him, "Hey, I will buy 10 kilograms of kangkong from you every day at 8 ringgit. So I will save 2 ringgit. So I'll do this for the next 1 year." It is a natural process to maximize our profit and to minimize loss. Okay. However, with this MCO, currently it restricts people from dining in. And let's say you lost 80% of your business. You still have to pay for the kangkong, even though you are not using any of them. And this is the situation that's happening. So it is very important, and it is actually extremely important to always revisit your management strategies. Okay, we have to understand that while we hedge because we want to maximize our profit, we at the same time increase our risk because we are committed to buy in the future. Technology can definitely helps a lot by providing real-time information so that you can take preemptive actions like renegotiate your kangkong agreement. So I hope I answered your questions about the resilience. And there are other points that I would like to highlight as well when it comes to resilience. Okay. For example, many organizations have stepped up the challenge. Okay, they adapt their business to protect their employees and continue to serve their customers and communities. However, in these struggling conditions, a lot of businesses are actually struggling to survive. Okay, so what business can do to tackle this uncertain situation to stay resilient, especially we look at as the post-COVID era. COVID will end one day, soon or later. Okay, but business don't end. You see. So how do we build a resilient business that can survive another pandemic? I will put it to the management's will and their personal goal. Probably their will or their goal is the main, if not the sole contributing factor for a business long-term resilient or a business longevity. You see, we human, with our will, we can move mountains and we can reshape the world. Just look at what we have done to Mother Nature in 200 years. Right? We reshaped the entire world. Okay, and we also have to understand that all consequences are a result of our actions and most importantly our inactions. Think of it this way. Uh, if you're on the street, okay, and we see someone um, committing some crime or harassment, by not standing up and not voicing out, we are actually um, encouraging the action. Okay, so for business to continue to stay resilient, we need to look at the management's will. So An organization or a business is actually the image of its leader. For example, if we have a 75 years old uh, leader leading a company, okay, with no successors and no succession plannings, probably he's not going to plan for the next 20 years, right? While in Malaysia, we are fighters, we can work until 90 over years old, no problem with that. But when it comes to the planning part, the resilient part, the horizon tend to be shorter. So business needs to look at succession planning. Okay, it is through succession planning, whether it is by way of inheritance to the second generation for family business, or by the way of merging and acquisition. Okay, getting acquired or merged with another company. This kind of succession planning steps are very important because this is the sole contributor to the company's resilient plan, right? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Fong, quite a very informative points there. So we know that financial resilience, operational, commercial, and as well as community, all these four areas are interdependent, right? That means we need to ensure that
Mhm.
each of the area must support one another. So do you agree that businesses in the current environment, they should change their business model as well to not only stay resilient but also to sustain as long as possible in the current environment, because you do not know how this pandemic will, like you say, will go on maybe 2 or 3 years, or who knows. So do you think that businesses should change their business model as well?
Oh, I totally agree with this. I look at it as business is an ever growing and continuously evolving um, living thing. Okay, business model needs to be created as often as possible so that we can stay relevant. During this pandemic, we saw that a lot of companies are having major problems because they don't change their business model. Okay, they still keep to the old method. I'll give you a very simple example. Okay, 200 years ago, everybody is comfortable with riding horses, having ox carriage. Okay, in the matter of fact, ox cart can be traced back to like 20,000 BC. Okay, that's how long we have been using ox cart, and then we have uh, horse carriage. Okay, 200 years ago, uh, come this guy called Henry Ford, and he tell you, Nita, instead of selling a horse, okay, why don't you sell an automobile? You don't need to feed him with grass, but you need coal and water to boil the water to make it run. And then you will start coming back to me asking, so how do I get water and coal to everywhere I go, right? That time we don't have this kind of infrastructure already. And then probably you'll say, well, my clients, they love horses very much. Nobody will buy these things, right? Nobody will buy an automobile. We can get grasses and waters everywhere. We just drag the horse down to the roadside and we get it, right? Why do I need an automobile? But 200 years later, horse are for entertainment or for recreational purposes. Okay, or they belongs to the nature. So you look at it, business continuously change. It is the resistance to change that cause a lot of businesses to stay where you are, complacent, comfortable. For example, in Malaysia, we are so comfortable for the past 30 to 40 years. No earthquake, no crisis, no natural natural disasters. Okay, economy growing since the 1960s. Okay, when we are the Pearl of Orient, we start with semiconductor industry, and then we went into the automotive and manufacturing revolutions. Real estate uh, just shoot up, shoo, made rock. The stock exchange help a lot of people makes money. So for a lot of businesses, especially the manufacturing industry, their machineries are fully paid. Okay, and that's is why their business models stick with their machineries. They do not want to invest. Why do you want to invest in another machinery and fork of another portion of money, right? Or pay interest? So this is one of the major constraint for local companies, especially manufacturing industry. I've spoke to a few manufacturers in Malaysia during the pandemic. This is probably one of the main reason. The second reason is because their business model we have two part: the buyers part and the input, the producers part. Malaysian company are so blessed with low cost labor. Okay, we do not have strong unions to protect the labor. That's why the minimum wages just don't go up, right? And because of this, a lot of businesses don't have any incentive to move up the value chain. Okay, once we once we get like 100, 200 foreign local workers, if they're expensive, we replace them with the low cost foreign workers. So these are the things that hold the business model stagnant. Okay, there are no incentive for them to move forward or to change their business model. It's like as long as I can maintain my labor at 1,000 ringgit level, I'm making money. Why do I need to change, right? So COVID show them one major risk factor. What if you can't get any labor? So that's when people are panicking. Okay, during the first MCO, nobody can enter Malaysia. Construction industry get hit very hard because they don't have workers. Manufacturing gets hit very hard because they don't have workers from Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Nepal, and also Vietnam's. So these are the litmus test that I've mentioned earlier that shows you how okay this is probably is time to change the business model. However, the second part is we have to understand how business work. We have a target, we have a goal, what we want to achieve. And this is where we are today. So the difference is actually the gap, and this is the capability gap. Are we capable of identifying the new market? It's like okay, everybody says that Bitcoin is making profit, is very good, but do you have the technology know-how and the human know-how to really reach that? So these are the capabilities that are restraining the businesses. So my idea for them is we need to start somewhere, okay? And it is now because with this pandemic, uh, we have probably some time to relook into it and prepare ourselves when the economy reopens, when borders reopens. This is the time where we will make a huge leap to the next level. So I would also highlight that uh, technology, okay, the digital competencies, okay, let it be data analytics or artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 4G, 5Gs, machine learnings, etc., all these digital capabilities, okay, it is not an option, it is necessity. It is so essential as if we we are trained to read and write. Okay, imagine 30 years ago, 40 years ago. The school emphasized on learning ABCs, English languages, and also arithmetic, mathematics. Okay, why? Because we need a lot of people to be able that can write and calculate. Okay, in today's world and the future's world, it is digital competency. Okay, it is about, do you know how Google works? How to use Google search for answer instead of asking your colleague, hey, can you help me, right? So ability to use Google for answer is actually a capability. Okay. Basic understanding and basic competencies in terms of the web technologies, like how does website works, okay, what are digital marketing, what are social medias, how it works. Okay, these are the digital competencies that are very important. The next competency that I would like to highlight is live streaming. Like it or not, we need to get familiar with the feeling of talking to the screen myself, seeing myself, and also talking to the camera, and assume that there are a few hundred people watching at us now. These are the skills that we need, right? And it is so essential that companies who does not embrace this will find it tough to move to the next level, right? Nita, I hope I
Okay.
answered your question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very clear. That means we need to change our way of operating the business, and also to look back and review our business model to stay current, right? Okay. Last but
definitely.
not least, how do you think that businesses should take tackle, or how businesses should manage whatever uncertain risks pertaining to not only pandemic COVID but also due to other uncertain reasons that may block or that may hinder the resilience of the business. So how businesses should tackle this matter?
Oh, this is a very, very good question. Okay, you see, business is living, it is a reflection of the leaders, okay, the management. That's why we start to use the word leader instead of boss, okay. So business is ever growing because it is reactive to the market. It's like if people wants to drive a car, you cannot sell a horse carriage, okay. And business relies on the market, is driven by the buyers or the consumer. So for businesses to continue to grow or to survive the next pandemic or crisis, in short, to be resilient, management must embrace the power of collaboration, which also means that the management needs to have a culture shift. Instead of I pay you to do what I want you to do, it has to be I pay you for what you are able to do. What I'm trying to mean here is, instead of I pay you and tell you to just clean the rubbish next to the restroom, which you will do, and then you will not clean the rubbish at the other side of the corridor. Okay. And then the management starts saying that these are not performance, etc. Okay. We need to change the entire uh, model to become I pay you to tell me what to do, or I pay you to do what you want to do, something like that. Okay, it's like I pay you so that you tell me that, okay, we should not have rubbish along the walkway, and you will clean it, or you find someone to clean it. Okay, so it is not a patch of changing, patching here and there. It doesn't work that way. It needs to be a structural complete change where we pay because of their abilities and their talent, and both for their ideas. How businesses currently measure performance is I pay you X amount of money and you work X amount of hours, and that's how we justify the pay. Or the next thing is I pay you X amount of money and you did 100 items. Okay, then you worth the money. All right. But that is back in the industrial revolution era or the manufacturing era. Okay. In today's world, we just need one brilliant idea. to help the company to grow. You just need to be able to identify one particular market that can launch the company to the next level. Okay, imagine this: if I were to pay the founder of Grab or the Grab's team, I pay that, hey, okay, I pay you, and I tell you what to do with the cars and taxis. Grab will never exist, right? And we can see that the shift from producer-driven business, which means that I produce this, you buy from me. Okay, Malaysia is still very comfortable with this method because of the permits and licenses, etc. Okay, but when the world starts to move, okay, digital world is actually an explosion of information where people starts to learn and to see and start to think more. Okay, so businesses needs to have a very big culture change where it is consumer or buyer driven. I don't produce this product simply because I have the capability. I produce it because you want it. Goes back to the story of the manufacturers. Okay, I produce this because of my capability. My machine can produce a wooden sofa, a wooden furniture. So I sell wooden furniture to you. Okay, but nowadays the market demands something different. So it should be buyer driven instead of the manufacturer driven. And this has to goes back to the management, the culture. Okay, this has to goes back to the this has to goes back to the leaders' mindset. So that's why we see a lot of demand for design thinking. Okay, they want people to businesses wants new ideas to help them to remodel their business model. Businesses wants to have a coach to help them to or performance to help them to map their performance. Okay, and these companies, we see the current trend is these companies are most mainly startups or mainly the second generations that starts to succeed or take over the company, where they have another 20 to 30 years of journey with the company. So back to you, Nita.
Okay, Mr. Fong, very good and informative explanations. So it is hoped that it can be a learning lesson to most of the businesses and to take a step back to review the business model as well as to understand why is it important for us not only to think for the short term but also to stay current and resilient for the long term. So since the time is quite jealous today. So I would like to say thank you again, Mr. Fong, for your time and commitment to be with us today. And hopefully you also safe there, Penang. And also hopefully in the future we can collaborate again for another topic, maybe interesting topic for your sharing, maybe.
All right. The pleasure is mine and looking forward to meet you guys again. Everybody just stay safe and very important, stay at home. If you need to travel, please maintain physical distance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you also to all the academic staff for the support, students, Masayu members, okay, as well as MAIC staff for the support. Please like and share this webinar so that it can be a very good information and also can be some part of learning process towards the future. Okay, for that, thank you everybody. Thank you, Mr. Fong, and thank you, Miss Suhaila, behind the scene, okay, to organize such a very interesting webinar today. Okay, have a good day, Mr. Fong, and hopefully to see you again in the future. Bye. Bye
Bye
all.
bye. Bye.